Alright everyone, now we can talk more about the palace intrigue, which I predicted a few hours before it became obvious that it was real, and the Democratic Party at large. The Democratic Party right now is in a nervous breakdown mode. With members of the party, some of them are calling for an open convention, so the delegates can vote for who they want. Some of them are trying to mint Kamala, and they're like, well, she was VP, she's on the ticket. So technically speaking, any delegates that would have generally been pledged to Joe Biden, they should go to Kamala Harris. I think the wiser thing to do is the latter. I think that there's even odds of who prevails right now. The Clinton faction and the progressives, the leftoids, are completely behind Kamala. I think they're being the pragmatic ones. The Obamas, who don't like the Clintons, they're calling for an open convention, along with Manchin, some of the business Dems, certain party elites, and so there is currently a civil war going on within the Democratic Party. Tim Pool got his civil war, it's just that it happens to be within a political faction, not openly and on the streets, although I suspect that when the election is over, regardless of what happens, there will be some protesting going on. It'll probably end up being fiery, but mostly peaceful. Yes, KFC and Wendy's will be burned down, and this will be considered a form of activism. We've seen it before. It's not exactly like the left doesn't suffer a mental breakdown every time they don't get their way, and I don't think they will. The fact is that in the absence of Biden, who I said was the only plausible path forward for a 24 victory against Donald Trump, in the wake of that, look, here's the problem. It's late in the game. We're approaching the end of July. We've got one more week in July and then a couple of days. You have just effectively collapsed your own campaign. Your new candidate is insane, like literally insane. So not demented, but just crazy. Is not likable, and you don't even know who the running mate's going to be. You've got to change up the ballots. You might be ceding several states, depending on how their courts rule with regards to their rules with regards to the election. What are you people doing? You should have been circling the wagons around Joe and begging him to stay in. You can always just say, okay, we get him elected, and then he stands down the next day, leaving you President Kamala Harris and whoever the fuck she chooses as a VP. You could have done that. That was the best possible outcome that you had. That's no longer possible. Joe has stepped aside, so he's not willing to continue with it. By the way, in the process, effectively admitting to the American people that he's mentally incapacitated. He will have to use medical incapacity as his off-ramp. I predicted that, by the way, days ago as well, that if he did get out, that's probably the excuse that he's going to use, because then a couple of those states will say, okay, well, you can print up new ballots. This has thrown the race into total chaos. We've seen 2 weeks of the most political chaos that we've ever seen in the United States history, with the most glaringly lopsided debate performance probably in televised debate history. You'd have to go back to the oratory of Theodore Roosevelt v. Taft, actually, to find something that was more screwy. Theodore Roosevelt goddamn grilled him to the point where he literally cried up on stage. They had been besties, and they had a little bit of a falling out. Theodore's like, bully. And then you have an almost presidential assassination. Now you've got this. Now you've got the palace intrigue thing, plus the in-party fighting going on. The Republicans, meanwhile, are totally unified. The DeSantis and Haley factions have both backed Trump. Everyone's lock, stock, and barrel behind him, other than like two fucking dissidents within the party that don't like him, and they have TDS. That's it. That's the only intrigue going on right now. There's a reason why we're not really talking about Trump at the moment, despite the fact that he just got part of his ear blown off. Because the palace intrigue of the Democratic Party is so sheer and so severe that it's like the Hindenburg disaster. It's like it's a rolling disaster. You can't take your eyes off it. It's terrible to see. Well, I mean, politically speaking, actually, it's wonderful to see at the moment that you just can't stop thinking about it. It's like when I wake up in the morning. What am I hoping to see, on Twitter or in the news in general when I go to RCP? Biden stories. Who has endorsed him? Who has not endorsed him? What are the Democrats doing right now? I mean, I know that they're melting down, but how much are they melting down? In what manner are they melting down? It's only a matter of how, not why. This is insane. It's insane 2 weeks within political history. The Democrats are collapsing like a house of cards in a hurricane. It is an unmitigated disaster, a routing, actually, if you think about it. The Republicans formed ranks. This is uncharacteristic of them, by the way. Normally, this is the sort of meltdown you'd see in the Republican Party. So you'd see like an evangelical wing versus the political centrists, the pragmatists, or something like that. That's what you would expect to see. Republicans that lean more libertarian versus those that want to bomb Iran, or so, a McCain versus Rand Paul, or something along those lines. Normally, you see this within the GOP. They're cursed, the Democrats. I explain. There's a reason why their convention is slated for Chicago. Last time they did that in 1968, what happened? Utter free-for-all. They should never use Chicago for a convention site again. Apparently, the Republicans should choose Milwaukee because their convention was great. You got Hulk Hogan and porn star and shit like that. You've replaced the shrewish soccer moms with hot chicks. I think that this is an improvement. Their messaging is perfectly fine. And Donald Trump, by the way, managed at the RNC, his speech was, by the way, legendarily long. He managed to lay out his platform, the planks of his platform in a condensed form, by the way. He accomplished his goal. If you look at Agenda 47, which could end up being Agenda 48, depending on whether Biden resigns, by the way, that would screw up your t-shirt manufacturing for a little while. He managed to condense a very wide plethora of specific policy details into a short-ish period of time. Can Kamala do this? Is there even going to be a Democratic National Convention? I can't answer that question. They're going to be doing that digital roll call sort of thing a week before the convention in the middle of August. I don't know what the fuck is going to happen. You've only got a few weeks until you have to have the delegates weigh in. We're not even sure if it's going to be an open convention or whether they're just going to coronate Kamala Harris. I don't know. The coronation of Kamala. That rings a bell. No, I think she'll probably be nominee in the end, but there might be a battle ahead before that happens. And of course, I could be wrong. It could be that they Gavin Newsom out of nowhere or something like that. One thing, though, is clear. Michelle Obama is not running. Everyone says she's going to be the VP. She's going to run against Kamala. No, she's not. Absolutely not. She has categorically denied over and over and over again for a decade any political ambitions whatsoever. And I've already explained the reason why. She got pissed, mainly at the Clintons and their allies. They're a bunch of old white wasps with bigoted views who live in plantation homes. And she overheard them making cotton jokes behind her back. I guarantee that this happened on multiple occasions. And when she realized just how vapid these retards are, she said, why the fuck would I want to be around you people? I'm going to Hawaii. Fuck you. I got enough money to get a Martha's Vineyard home. We'll be the only black family within 10 miles. That's basically the way it is. Feel sorry for the Obamas sometime. Yeah, he may not have been a great president, but god damn, I mean, look at who their adversaries within the liberal movement are, and I think I hate them worse. They're the NIMBYists. Basically, the NIMBY liberals are the ones that don't like the Obamas. I mean, conservatives don't like them either. I don't like the Obamas, but it's not because I would look askance to them being in the neighborhood, you know? It's Elizabeth Warren and Hillary Clinton and that block of people. They're the ones that they double lock their car doors when they see the Obamas walking down the street. A bunch of fucking racists. Literal ones. Not just, hey, you made a joke on the internet, but literal ones. The Democrats they're done. I mean, at this point, the best that they can hope for is they control down ballot damage and manage to hold on to the House or something like that. And they basically control it anyway right now. The Republicans have bonked themselves on the head like the stupidest orangutan in the zoo, as I've explained before. They're going to lose the Senate. That much is pretty clear at this point. But they can control down ballot damage to the House, and that's really their goal at this time. That's about all. Peace out.